I was in Somaliland last week.
Where's Somaliland, Gwyn?
Well, everybody keeps asking me that because it's
Tell us, Gwyn.
Everybody thinks Somalis and Somaliland are the
Isn't
same
it
country.
dangerous?
No, Somaliland is okay. We just had guns pointed at us once while I was there.
Yeah.
So
Big target.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome everybody to Snack on That, a different perspective on feeding the world. Today we're going to be considering the Yemeni conflict and the impact that you may not have heard about that's impacting another country that we are fond of and have knowledge of. So we'll look forward to that. But first of all, who are we? Why are we doing Snack on That? What's it all about? I've got my two hosts with me, which is to my left is Gwyn. Sorry, I was looking right. To my left is Gwyn.
Here I am.
And who are you, Gwyn?
I'm Gwyn Williams. I'm the CEO of Feed the Hungry.
Fantastic. And to my right is Gav.
Hi, Chris.
Who are you, Gav?
Well, me and my therapist ask that question quite frequently. So I am the projects director of Feed the Hungry. I'm also, if you go back a little bit in history, the founder of Coventry Food Bank.
And who am I?
Who are you?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm Chris, and I'm the operations director for Feed the Hungry. And together we seem to run an organisation called Feed the Hungry, don't we?
We do.
We do.
That's okay. Feed the Hungry. What is it? Who is it?
Absolutely. I keep asking that question. But we've been feeding kids for 36 years. We started off as
So they're not kids anymore?
No, not kids anymore.
Okay, they've grown up.
Yeah. So we started with disaster relief during the 1980s.
Okay.
And then from there we developed feeding programs in schools. We now feed over 500,000 kids worldwide.
Wow.
And now we're feeding people in the UK as well.
Okay, and that came about in 2021, I believe.
In a merger,
Gav.
yes. Coventry Food Bank and Feed the Hungry came together. We were about 8 people then, I think. And now we are, about 35, 36? Oh my goodness, we've got 15 food banks around the city of Coventry. We've got 6 pantries. We've got mobile pantries.
7 vans, 1 mobile pantry,
Yeah, I know. It's a pretty mahoosive operation now.
Yeah, and continues to expand because of the need.
Yeah, which is disappointing because I think when I started this 12 years or so ago, I thought we'd solved the need, but we'll come on to that later on.
Okay, yeah, because later we're going to do a project and we don't want to feed hungry people, don't we?
That's exactly right. We don't want to. That is a bit of a mantra now.
That's us. That's who we are. This is Snack on That. And our next...
Why is it called Snack on That?
Actually, do you know, that's a good reason. Why call Snack on
Why
That? Because
call
we
Snack
want
on
you to
That?
take it and have a think about it and see whether it's worth the podcast itself.
So what's your favourite snack then?
Snack on That. Do you know, it used to be Frosties. I was known as the Frosty King.
I can see that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can see how that would develop into a thing.
Yeah, so I've relinquished that. I even eat Shreddies now without sugar.
No way.
I certainly do. It's a bit of a sin, but I'm committed to it now.
I eat
100%.
Honey Nut Loops, but unfortunately all those holes leave me empty by about lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a cereal man at the start of the day. What about you, Gwyn?
I am indeed a cereal man, but I do like my bananas there as well.
Do you?
Okay.
I did have a few problems a few years ago with cereals. I don't know if you knew about this.
No.
No, I was eating Frosties all the time, like you.
Yeah.
And then I found I was psychotically stabbing boxes of Frosties. Do you know about this?
No.
So I went up to the doctors and I said, look, I'm psychotically stabbing boxes of Frosties. He said, do you run a food bank? I said, yeah, I run a food bank. He said, you become a serial killer.
Oh, desperate.
Sorry.
Desperately bad. But we're going to look at various things this week.
What, like your short, fat, hairy legs?
Yes, no, they're under the table.
Okay, fine.
Okay, they remain under the table and
Ladies
will not
and
be
gentlemen,
coming
he's
out.
wearing trousers.
I am wearing trousers, thank you very much. I hope you've noticed my drip.
Yes, but I don't know what you mean.
Do you know what a drip is?
No.
Okay, so drip is your clothes.
Oh, okay.
So my drip today is just quite basic, but
What
your
you normally
drip.
wear.
What about his drip?
His drip, outrageous. I had 1960s wallpaper of that type. In fact, if he'd stood up against my 1960s wallpaper, we're quite old folks, by the way. Between us, there's nearly over 180 years worth of life.
Goodness me.
But he would have been camouflaged against the wallpaper I had in the 1960s. With
Well,
that
it was
kind of shirt on.
camouflage in Zimbabwe.
In fact, I think this might be the curtains from my house. In 1969, I think it's gone to. Did you get these from Zimbabwe?
Did you get it made in Zimbabwe?
I did. Yeah, no, this was tailored for me. In
Tailored by a friend?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you have to pay for it?
No. It was,
I
it was a
wouldn't
game.
pay for it either. but it was given to you. How cute is that?
What you can't see on it is it's got barcodes all over it. So actually, as he goes through scanners and things like that, he rings up a price. We've tried it in Morrison's actually.
That's why I was stopped by Interpol in Zambia.
Yeah, $3.99, ladies and gentlemen.
So Interpol stopped you for wearing that?
No, it stopped me because I had an old passport.
Yes, this was in Zambia.
That's good. So this is a I suppose it's a really good lead in to where's
It's a nice
Gwyn
hook,
been,
isn't it? Yes, where's Gwyn been?
Yeah. So Gwyn, where you been?
I was in Somaliland last week.
Where's Somaliland, Gwyn?
Well, everybody keeps asking me that because it's
Well, tell us, Gwyn.
Everybody thinks Somalis and Somaliland are the same
Isn't it
country.
dangerous?
No, Somaliland is okay. We just had the guns pointed at us once while I was there.
Yeah.
So
Big target.
Especially if he's wearing that. You weren't wearing that shirt, I take it.
I wasn't wearing this yet. No,
Good job. But you were looked after, and who
Yeah,
are you?
we're very much looked after by a cohort of wonderful people.
But you haven't told us where it is at the moment.
It's on the Horn of Africa,
Okay.
so opposite Yemen.
Yeah.
So quite close to the war fronts that's happening on the Red Sea.
Wow. Okay, and we'll be looking at the heart of the matter a little bit about that Yemen and the impact that it might be having in Somaliland. So Somaliland,
Capital?
Hergassi.
Pardon?
Hergassi.
Hergassi.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? Thinking of Gav's comments about spelling.
Harg. Hergassi. Yeah.
He doesn't know people. Okay.
Your point.
Okay, so Hergassi, okay.
Yeah.
Population of Somaliland, do we know?
It's 2.5 million.
Okay.
Most 1.5 million in the city itself.
So it's like Birmingham.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hope it's not like
It's
Birmingham.
not like Birmingham.
No,
There's
no,
nothing
no.
nicer than Birmingham.
Yes. Oops, sorry, Birmingham fans.
That's just alienated everybody in Birmingham.
Yeah, but the camel steaks and the camel milk.
You had camel milk, didn't you?
I did.
How was that served? What's that like?
No, it's straight from the udder. So into a cup and then drank it. Yeah, while it was still warm.
We don't put that on our labels, do we? Straight from the udder into the cup.
No, we don't. What he hasn't said is that the cup was sanitised by burning, so it was both camel milk
carbonised.
plus carbon.
Yeah. That's right. Yes.
Charcoal milk.
It was charcoal milk. I was spitting carbon for the last few days.
You've been spitting carbon.
Yeah,
He has, yes.
yeah.
So this milk,
As well as having some effects down under as well.
a bit humpy, the milk?
So what was the purpose of your visit? Why
Someone
bother
should
going?
milk. I want to know what this milk
Yeah,
tastes
I
like.
know,
We'll
but-
get on to that in a second. Fine.
Okay.
Yes.
It was
That's not interesting.
It was frothy mad. So yeah, because they had baby camels. So during
You
that,
milked a baby camel.
no, I didn't milk a baby.
You took the
camel.
milk off a baby camel.
I did.
You've
yes.
deprived a baby camel of milk.
I know.
There needs to be some discussion about it at some point.
An
really.
accountability here as well. I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
So-
apparently it was a done thing.
So was this out in a desert situation with the camels, or what?
No, these are camel farms. So we visited a camel farm just outside the city. Yeah.
What's a camel farm?
So where they breed camels for milk and for
So
meat.
you have stud camels.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
The
a
mind
job,
boggles.
isn't it?
Yes. So how many camels were
There was
there?
about 50 milking camels there.
And do they milk by hand?
They milk behind.
They don't have like a dairy where they
No.
camels go in.
So they had to stand by the camel and hold the actual.
Well, they're quite
container.
cantankerous animals, aren't they? They spit and all the rest of it. So how do they take
No,
being milked?
they were fairly friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good,
We
yeah.
just.
And
I
so-
nearly had my ear chewed off once, but
So the
by a
idea
camel.
is
By a camel.
the idea for the camel market then is to breed the camels in order to provide camels for other people to take away to have their own milk and stuff like that. Is that what I don't know.
They provide the milk as if you were having bottled milk.
And do they eat camel?
They eat camel. Yeah.
They do. Have you tried
Yes,
camel
I have.
steaks? Any
Yeah,
good?
it's very lean meat, so
Okay.
it's very nice.
What, like deer, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the meat is a lot whiter, so yeah.
Oh, chicken.
White. Okay, like chicken.
Yeah, like
White,
chicken.
white, everything's like chicken.
Don't think.
Well,
don't think of a
I'd
camel
say it's
in-
more like pork, the colour of it, more than. So my first name is Idris. So Idris is also.
Is that Welsh for camel or something?
Welsh was in Jabir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was born under Cadair Idris, so that's in Wales.
In the mines.
However, Idris is a prophet of Islam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was their brother. So come to visit.
goodness.
Long
so I
lost.
was very, very well respected for having. And then-
Okay, so I don't think we've got middle names. I've got a middle name, but I don't think it's going to go far. Not like Idris went far. Have you got a middle name?
I have a middle name, yeah, it's Stuart.
Yeah, I've got Ian. It's not
It's
really
not
the
that
same.
exciting.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were the right person in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
Doing
absolutely.
what besides camel farming?
So we were visiting there to actually equip an orphanage with play equipment, but as part of the program, the reason I was there was actually to talk to the government about self-sustainable programs, growing programs,
Yeah.
and food security in the country.
Okay, well, what's the problem out there?
Drought is one of the problems, and using old methods of farming in new conditions. So to actually develop new farming methods to actually go with the climate change.
So is it a typical subsistence growing economy then? So they just grow enough for themselves and their family and that's about it?
Yeah, but a lot of the food which is grown there goes to waste because they're either growing too much of one thing like tomatoes and melons and not looking at the whole aspect of what to grow and when.
Is this also a supply chain issue? So if they're growing too much, they can't get it to where it needs to be in time?
Yeah, it just rots on the
It just
ground.
rots too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So we're looking at how we actually develop a product rather than just entities, so that you can actually tin it, dry it, and create food that will last throughout the whole year.
So why you? Why Feed the Hungry, for example? Why bother talking to you? Why don't they go and talk to somebody else?
Because we're looking at, in one aspect, we look at disaster relief and actually maintaining programs that will feed hungry people.
Okay.
But now we're looking at a more holistic plan of how to develop food to enhance a community
Okay.
rather than just feed a community.
So they like that sort of onward trajectory sort of
Yeah,
thing going forward.
we're trying to be more visionary in what we're trying to do.
Okay.
But it's not just about the food then, it's a more holistic approach to how you deal with the community, like presumably education and all of that, hence the
Yeah,
nursery
so you're
school.
developing feeding programs, you're putting healthy food into hospitals, you're looking at developing community programs for mining and other industries, but putting food into place in order for them to actually have enough food to actually start their business until they've got enough money to actually
So why
sustain
were
themselves.
you? Was it just you were in the right place at the right time, or what could Feed the Hungry bring to this that say another NGO or an external company couldn't?
An open-mindedness, so that you're not actually, so you're developing a program specific to a country.
You're not looking to make profit here, are you? That's
No, we're not.
basically-
Yeah, so the whole idea
it's
is that
virtuous economy.
yeah,
Some of
absolutely.
these economies get burned by some of the big corporations, don't they? So is that
Yeah, and a lot of
is it trust that's in
yeah,
this?
and a lot of NGOs have gone in and done like a 3-year program, and so put a few tents up and a few greenhouses up, and says, right, we've trained 100 people, money's run out, goodbye. So
Okay.
what we're trying to do is develop a community-based program that is self-sustainable. And so that's looking at a 10 to 12-year program of actually development, so that it becomes something that actually grows organically, so rather than a test to say this would work, we've done our job, well, actually no. You've actually got to go beyond the test period and actually to a point where it can grow itself
So
organically.
the uniqueness about Feed the Hungry approach, it is actually a giveaway approach, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a giveaway.
It's a
approach.
giveaway and consulting and sustaining that in the economy itself, rather than just dumping something and saying you ought to have this here, have that. You're doing a different approach.
Yeah, well, we're working with the government, we're working with the local people, we're working with the different entities like businesses as well, to actually bring them all to the table and say, what do people need now? What is the government's vision, and how can we help businesses so that you incorporate everybody
It's the whole of country solution. It's quite daunting. You've not had a whole of country before.
No, I'm just conquering the world here.
So you are, yes. Gwyn takes over the world. Maybe we should retitle it. It's not where's Gwyn been, but which country is Gwyn taking over?
Yeah. Gwyn's world.
Gwyn's world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. So Gwyn, what's the significance to our audience of this trip out to Harissa and Somaliland?
Why should they care?
Why should they care?
They are people like us.
Yeah.
There are people who are suffering. They're going through...
Largely forgotten as well.
Largely forgotten. It's a country that isn't designated by the whole world.
Yeah.
And yet the country is just a wonderful experience, and the people are wonderful there. And they have a heart to actually develop as a nation. They look after each other very well. They care about the countries around them in terms of taking in refugees from the Yemen.
So have they got an identity as a country, do you think? Even though they haven't, I know they haven't internationally, but have they got an identity within Somaliland about I'm a Somalilander or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. They have this culture which is unique.
Is it multi-tribe?
It is multi-tribe.
With Somalis over on the far side, adjacent to Somalia. Is that basically how it works?
Yeah, it's more. It's a mix of African, Arab.
Right, okay.
So the cultures are quite different to what you would see in a lot of other countries. But their ideals about family and home and nation is very strong. They're very friendly people. We have a large contingency of Somali people who live, especially in London and Bristol and Wales.
Now, being a vexillologist, as I am...
You what?
A vexillologist.
Yes, I am a vexillologist.
Yes.
I'll explain what that is in a moment.
Yes. You vex people. Vexillologist is a collector of flags. Did you know that?
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't
I am a
surprise me
collector of
given
flags.
what I know about you.
Yes, well, being a geographer, I want everywhere I've gone, I've collected a flag.
Come on.
So I am a
would make a very good
vexillologist.
accountant.
So I'll bring my flags in one day, and I could put them all around. You could see where I've been.
Probably didn't.
Bore you stiff. Have they got a flag?
They do have a flag, yes.
And do you know what's on it?
There's a star on it.
Okay.
And it's red and green.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So they're on their way for an identity, but not quite recognised within the United Nations, as it were.
That's right, yes. And yet they have no international debt. So even though they're a poor country, they do not have any debt. As an organisation, they've asked for us to come in to look at how the whole country could benefit from the significant way that they changed their agriculture.
I suppose
So they are looking towards benefiting the whole nation.
one of the benefits is, of course, it's quite a destabilised region. We know Yemen is obviously involved with the Houthi insurgencies across.
Yeah.
That actually this is in the same region. Being able to put something in there which stabilises the country is beneficial to the whole region, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but gentlemen, our podcast people, as they may be called, I don't know whether it's a word or not,
Hello, podcast people.
but they wouldn't necessarily know why Feed the Hungry it gets invited to do a countrywide food network. So perhaps we should just explain that we have some of this experience within us to be able to do this sort of thing. So we've got experience in this country and we've got experience abroad, and you two are the key people that have done this in the past. So
Hugh, particularly
Hugh. Gwyn particularly for abroad. Gwyn particularly for
and I'm
abroad.
particularly in the UK.
Particularly in the UK. So let's just find out. Let me just ask a couple of questions. I'll start with Gav because you've talked a lot already.
Yes.
All right, I'll have a rest.
So Gav, in terms of experience of food poverty and food resourcing and stuff, what would you say are the key aspects for somebody setting out to help other people regarding food, and what has Feed the Hungry in your experience with food banks done? over the
I
years?
came into food poverty before I joined Feed the Hungry. I obviously started Coventry Food Bank, and I've done pantries while we've been part of.
What's a pantry?
A pantry is a bit like a food bank, but it's a place where you go, you pay a membership fee of maybe £5, but you're given the choice to go and then select the types of food you want from a broad range, a bit like a small supermarket.
Yeah.
The really important thing, though, is, and it's a bit of my personal mantra, is that I don't really want to feed people.
What?
Which may be a bit weird, But actually,
But you're feeding people, you don't want to do it.
we don't want to do it.
We're feeding over 30,000 people.
30,000 through Coventry Food Bank, yeah. And during the pandemic, that went up to about 46. We're feeding another 200, 300 families through the pantries.
But you don't want to do it.
Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, what I want to do is, and it's the same thing
What
here.
I really, really do.
What I really, really want to do is take people from a place where they need access to food bank to a place where they're sustainable and they have significance in their own life. That's a bit of a mantra that runs through the whole of this charity.
Okay.
And it's the same in what Gwyn's trying to do in Somaliland. Although he's putting feeding programs in there, it's actually a holistic approach to the whole of the country to put in a kind of circular economy that benefits people through education, through food, through infrastructure. Because one day they shouldn't need food being delivered into that country, which is what we're doing at the moment. We're doing the same thing in Zimbabwe. This is really, really important. We have to get out of the mindset, in this country in particular, that food banks and food pantries are part of our architecture and infrastructure, and move away from that. It cannot be this way in this country.
I don't understand how food banks came about in the first place in terms of, and then they're so established now. You're right, people want to look at food bank architecture. Food banks are the architecture of our society. So how's Feed the Hungry trying to change the architecture?
We're talking about in the UK here, Chris.
In the UK, because we're talking about Somaliland as well, but and places
we are
abroad.
kind of preempting podcast 4 here, really, which is where we will talk a little bit more about this. We'll tell you some transformation stories in podcast 4, but this one, if very quickly, we know that if you can put money back in people's pockets, if you can create community with the things you do, so that people eventually get to help themselves, then we have a much better solution than simply handing food out. Hugh, who I mentioned earlier, who's not here, once said on ITV that it's better to give people a hand up than a hand out.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a mantra, that we just want to help people out of crisis, but we don't want them continuously cycling into and out of needing access.
And I'm sure there's a whole debate around community as well now, because it's bandied around so many places about what community is, who is community, how you can develop community, and all that kind of thing. And I get sick of the word, to be honest. I wish there was another word for community.
Yes.
But we are trying desperately hard to discover what, if for the sake of a better word, what community works and how communities do work. So the other day, we had an incident where we had to take some emergency food pack into a community who had lost all their water and gas in the UK, but trying to determine who that community was and the local council that were working with that community was quite difficult. And you just go in where you see the need. So I think in terms of the future I like the way you put, say, the food network architecture. We're trying to disrupt that into knowing what it wants in the future, aren't we?
Oh, it would be great if in 10 years' time you didn't actually need Coventry Food Bank, you didn't need the pantries. That would be a success. Yeah. If actually what we'd done was we created, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word community, but we had created or been part of creating facilities in places, small villages, small towns, areas of towns where people were helping themselves because they understood it. We'd been the catalyst for that. Yeah. And we're beginning to see that start, around Coventry, around Warwickshire. And it's the same sort of thing. We are beginning to call them transformation centres. And it's something that we'll begin to talk about as we move into...
Yeah, so going back to Somaliland, what have you seen of that sort of transformation, or the Somaliland people wanting to work? Have we got lessons to learn from the communities there back in the UK?
Zimbabwe is probably the better case, isn't it, for this?
Yeah, I think we need to get away from an individualistic society into a more community-based society where we're looking at the needs of people around us and helping each other out, understanding the need of people, and benefiting those. I can remember in Zambia giving a piece of land to a small village of people who were being shifted around because of corporate lands being bought by corporate people to build coffee and sugar and whatever. So we bought them a piece of land, and what they did as a community was actually develop this piece of land so that everybody had a fair share of the land. And when you had a person who was old aged or disabled, whatever, that person had the same amount of land, but the community farmed it on their behalf. Now that is building community, and that is building
like the John
resources
Lewis
within
partnership
community. Yeah.
Well, so sorry, other people, we're not sponsored by John Lewis, but John Lewis Partnership, everybody has an ownership of it.
Yeah.
And taking something off that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. So do we think in what we're doing and Feed the Hungry, we've got that things can translate from somewhere like Somaliland to the UK and or UK to Somaliland? We haven't all got the answers, have we?
No, we were talking about gardens this morning, weren't we?
Yeah, I think it's got to be culturally relevant. But actually, we're talking with around allotments, and could we gear, much as we had Dig for Victory in the Second World War, we have Dig for Community now, and connect allotments, and there are 4,400 of them in the city of Coventry. Wow. Could we connect them into the food actors? So I'm not just talking about Coventry Food Bank and the pantries we operate, but there are many food actors in the city of Coventry. Could we connect them so that it becomes a virtuous system where the surplus grown from that can be given to people who actually need it within the city as part of, a healthy feeding program?
Yeah.
Same sort of thing in Zimbabwe, which you probably want to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing there in the community is providing them with training, first of all, on how to farm, how to budget their money and everything else. But then forming community groups to help each other out in actually farming. So starting a WhatsApp group, starting a responsibility for each other in helping each other out. Then actually looking at what seed they need to grow rather than just dumping them all with maize, so that whatever surplus they have doesn't become like an afterthought, and then getting the bottom dollar for any surplus, but thinking about things that they can grow that will actually increase their income.
Yeah, it's fascinating to say about groups, because if you look at WhatsApp, you look at Facebook and places, people naturally gravitate towards a group, don't they? And they create groups. They create a WhatsApp group. They create a Facebook group.
And they've been so supportive.
And if you do that within the context of what we're doing, and you can support each other with, because people have DIY groups, all sorts of things, don't they? If you can create that within the economies that we work with, and that people can support out of their own resource and or additional resource, you're onto a winner.
But I like what you said about system disruption, and that's kind of what's going on in Zimbabwe with the programs that you're working on. You've trained farmers so far, 36 of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will train more, and we've got access to hundreds, if not thousands, more farmers. Yeah. But actually, if we can become the buyer of food that's being grown by them, they're getting a fair price for their food, and the programs that we support in Zimbabwe can then receive food from that particular source instead of sending food in from the UK and America and elsewhere, which is so much better for the economy.
Yeah, we'll be hopefully transporting our first batch of food from them in about 3 weeks' time.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Amazing.
And this is a piece of land that was suffering a semi-drought area, but because of the organic methods we've been using, they didn't need that much water, and then using the land in a way that actually suits the environment. They've gone from a production of maybe less than a ton per hectare to about 9-10 tons per hectare. So using these amazing simple methods, you can transform a community.
Thanks for that, Gwyn. I think we're going to delve into that a little bit deeper in our next podcast. But getting back to the heart of the matter, the issues that surrounding Yemen at the moment, and the impact that's having on the ground in locations. We hear on the news so many different aspects of it: the Houthi rebels, the activities in the Red Sea. Surely that's going to have an impact on how things are getting into places like Somaliland. And maybe we could just spin that and just understand, a global disaster or global issue like that is impacting people in Somaliland. What about the body bags you were talking about to me earlier?
Yeah, through some of our friends, and Andrew, who's one of our trustees, has another charity who's sending hospital equipment.
Right.
And part of the request was to send body bags. I was thinking,
why body bags to Yemen?
Yeah, but
not body bags to Yemen, body bags to Somaliland.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. That's the question we were asking, and basically what they're saying, we're taking a lot of displaced people from Yemen who are actually doing the same as we have in France, and they're coming across in boats. But because of the nature of the sea there, a lot of them are dying. So they're actually picking bodies off the shores there and having to, put
the distances are much greater than we understand. It's not like crossing the English Channel, is it? It's much wider.
Yeah,
we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of miles to cross.
Well, it's hundreds of miles. Yeah.
For our listeners, it'd be worth getting Google Maps up and having a look at Yemen. Just putting in Sana'a, which is Yemen
but
capital,
we don't
and
hear...
seeing across to Somaliland and seeing that stretch of sea. It's worth a look, because it's just phenomenal. People are trying to escape it and then dying, and body bags then having to be sent to Somaliland. We don't hear that on the news.
No, not at all. And it's hundreds and thousands of people who are dying because of the war there. It's not only the pirates and everything that we hear about in Somalia, and the terrorists, Houthis, whatever.
And of course the difficulty with the whole Red Sea and having to go around the Horn of Africa is also having an impact on us sending food to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, it delayed us being able to get food in not normally 6 weeks. Is taking us 3 months, because it's not only the journey time, it's the queuing up at the ports.
Yeah.
In offloading the food and getting it to, which cost us having to buy food in country, which is, believe it or not, is more expensive than us sending food out there.
But it impacts us coming the other way as well, with rising food and fuel prices coming this way, create shortages in this country. Yeah. Costs rise, and it all adds to the economic crisis we've got. So in our UK feeding programs, of course, we get less donations. Yeah. If we have to buy food, it's more expensive, and demand goes up because there's less money in people's pockets. Okay. So it is amazing how all these things have a knock-on impact. The global issues we have around the world, Ukraine as an example, does just the same thing as well, and it's well documented.
Yeah, and I think some of the things that you see on your videos on YouTube about the Houthi rebels on a ship or something like that it gets blown into sort of movie style theatre type thing as to somebody having to get in there and fix it, and whether it's Americans, you've got pictures of the planes taking off and bombing targets. And actually, but on the ground, what we're saying is that the total impact is on the average everyday person.
Absolutely. It's communities that are getting blown apart, families getting disrupted.
Yeah.
It's just chaos on the ground in terms of families and communities, and they're not worried about politics. They're worried about where they're going to get their bread tomorrow.
So what's next? Do you think for us as Feed the Hungry in Somaliland, particularly at the moment? Are we waiting on things?
You going back out there in the near future?
Yeah, very soon, because we've got to get on board and make sure that we're there ready to be for the planting period.
When is that?
It's in a few weeks' time.
Okay.
So
was that time in the rains then? Is that the reason for it?
Yeah, it's times with absolutely. So we have water underground there that we can use, but we also need to understand the culture of the country and when they're planting periods. So we can't go against anything that is just disrupting how they're used to doing. We're just adding on and developing how they've been farming in the past.
Wow. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that in the future and to see how things develop. But just guarantee me one thing.
What's that?
You won't wear that shirt when you go next.
No, I'll try not to.
They might not let you in the country.
Or they might use it for target practice. Yes.
So next time we're going to be talking to Gwyn again about how we do things differently. Thank you for today and introducing some of those things, but we'll be finding out more next time, because we want to really explore doing things differently and how well we can do that. So thanks, Gwyn. Gav will be obviously discussing your favourite vegetable next time.
Yes, the artichoke.
The what?
The artichoke.
Can you just explain artichoke before we finish
I
today?
have to say the artichoke bothers me quite a lot. It's much maligned. Nobody really knows what it was or is. And actually, the Jerusalem artichoke is neither an artichoke nor does it come from Jerusalem. So that doubly bothers me, Chris.
So before now and next time, perhaps people could go to their local supermarket and look for
Find an artichoke. I went round Asda yesterday, but I think it was the wrong kind of store. The thing about Coventry is we don't have the right kind of store, which is probably a Waitrose. And there is no Waitrose for love nor
So
money.
all of those of you who've got Waitroses,
So go
get
and try
out there,
them.
find yourself an artichoke and examine it, check it out, look
We're
at
going
some
to
recipes.
taste test artichokes next week.
Taste test artichokes.
That's right. And see what we
Absolutely
can
not.
do with an artichoke that is legal.
Okay, thanks for that, Gav.
Okay.
And finally, we're going to explore the topic of the fact that we don't want to feed hungry people.
Likewise, to be fed, Chris.
No, not
I'm hungry now.
No, not now. Okay, we don't want to feed hungry people. All right. So you don't get any food. Okay, I know you want lunch. It's coming. But we don't want to feed hungry people as a charity. We want to do something completely different and have a framework for doing things differently with Gwyn. And of course, we'll be examining the artichoke. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for being with us today. Gav, please shut up and get on with your artichokes. Okay,
Can
see
I
you
leave
now.
you with one joke?
One joke. One finishing joke from Gav.
I came across a guy the other day who had his entire left side removed.
No idea what's the... Come on,
He's
go
all
on.
right now.
Okay, thanks for that,
That's all right.
Gav.
That's
And
a
we'll
dad joke.
fade out to black. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.